Today was March for Life, a wonderful event, and the president himself spoke at it. We'll show you some clips of that. There's an internet craze out there where I may have gotten in on. Also, human shields, why Democrats love them. All that's coming up right now on I'm Right. Have you ever asked yourself why the bodies seem to pile up under communist regimes throughout history? Think about, we all know the examples, right? Stalin, Mao. We've all seen the Pol Pot pictures where there are mountains of human skulls. Why does it happen every single time? Castro, Che, these people find a way to massacre people all the time. Why does that happen? How does that happen? Communism on its surface, doesn't sound bad, right? We're all just going to share. Nobody's going to own it. We're going to share. Everybody's equal. We're all in this together. We're going to share things. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. There are two different ways to look at this life. Either you view the individual as a precious creation of God that should be treasured, that should be nurtured, or you view each and every individual as simply someone who serves the state, somebody who serves the collective, and they're only good to you as long as they're serving the collective. Why do you think communists are so terrible to children and old people? Because they're not working anymore. They're not contributing to the collective. You, as the individual, do not have value under communist regimes, socialist regimes. Do you think that may have a little something to do with the fact that the left in the United States of America is so pro-abortion? Isn't that a weird thing to be, by the way, pro-abortion? I realize this is an uncomfortable subject for so many people. So many people don't care about it. I'm sure tons of my viewers consider themselves to be relatively, pro-abortion or don't care. But isn't it weird to cheer for it? We have presidential candidate Bernie Sanders putting a tweet out there today saying abortion is health care. Who cheers for it? Who looks at the extinguishing of a human life and says, nice, that worked out well. Let's do that another 40 million times. Yet that's where we are. And it's time to accept the fact you either view human life as something precious and God-breathed, something that should be celebrated, or you view it as nothing important, no big deal. And rest assured, people, if you can celebrate and cheer for a child that hasn't been born yet to be killed, if you can find yourself doing that, you can kill other people too. That's why the skulls pile up under Pol Pot. That's why Mao and Stalin killed 50 million apiece. What is that line of Joseph Stalin's? One death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. That's how they view things, people, and that's scary. So, there was March for Life today. They do it all the time in D.C. I believe it's an annual thing. It's always a polite thing. There's no assaults. There's not even any trash left behind. And sadly, United States presidents have never spoken at March for Life before. Even our pro-life presidents. George Bush, famously pro-life. Ronald Reagan, pro-life. Did not go down and speak at March for Life. In fact, the event most of the time is mostly ignored by the mainstream media. It's one of the largest events every single year in Washington, D.C. They estimate 1 million people sometimes show up. That is huge. And the American media, maybe you'll give it a quick 5-second, call it an anti-abortion rally, and then move right along. They try to ignore it. The benefit of having President Donald Trump there is, 1, he gives a voice to it. 2, he forces the media to cover it. Good for him. Thrilled about it. So Donald Trump put out a pro-life ad. Check it out.
We know that life is the greatest miracle of all. We see it in the eyes of every new mother who cradles that wonderful, innocent, and glorious newborn child in her loving arms. Under my administration, we will always defend the very first right in the Declaration of Independence, and that is the right to life. Virtually every top Democrat lawmaker also now supports taxpayer-funded abortion right up to the moment of birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. It is wrong. It has to change. But this movement can only succeed with the heart and the soul and the prayer of the people. Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life.
Good for him, ladies and gentlemen. That's something we can all celebrate. As you may imagine, the head of March for Life is just a bit excited to have the President of the United States speaking.
Well, let me say this. It's a historic first. We've never had a president of the United States actually come in person to the March for Life. And so it's going to be an amazing moment. I'm really excited for the president to have the experience because anybody who's ever come to the march has their heart even more strengthened about this issue. The young marchers who are there, collectively over 100,000, are so positive and so enthusiastic, and they are going to be delighted to have the leader of the free world with them this morning. He has leaned into this more than any other pro-life president ever, and it's just been exciting. I mean, he's enacted incredible policies, protecting life and global health policy, of course, judges, the Supreme Court, and coming now to the March for Life. This is unprecedented.
I believe I said there were going to be 1 million people there. Apparently there's only 100,000. But look, I'm a guy. We exaggerate size sometimes. It just happens. Donald Trump spoke today at March for Life, and it was fantastic.
And from the first day in office, I've taken a historic action to support America's families and to protect the unborn. Unborn children have never had a stronger defender in the White House. Sadly, the far left is actively working to erase our God-given rights, shut down faith-based charities, ban religious believers from the public square, and silence Americans who believe in the sanctity of life. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and we are fighting for those who have no voice, and we will win because we know how to win.
It really is an outstanding moment to have the President of the United States speaking at this event. Thrilled about it. He went on to talk about mothers.
And to all of the moms here today, we celebrate you and we declare that mothers are heroes. That's true. Your strength, devotion, and drive is what powers our nation. And because of you, our country has been blessed with amazing souls who have changed the course of human history. We cannot know what our citizens, yet unborn, will achieve, the dreams they will imagine, the masterpieces they will create, the discoveries they will make. But we know this: every life brings love into this world. Every child brings joy to a family. Every person is worth protecting. And above all, we know that every human soul is divine and every human life, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of Almighty God.
What did I tell you yesterday, ladies and gentlemen? Donald Trump is the first major Republican I can think of in my life who is not ashamed even that much of his base. You can say that's political, you can say he really believes it, but I will tell you this, it should be a model going forward. Don't treat your base like dirt. Don't give them that, just stay away thing. Embrace them. I have been around the evangelical community, especially when I ran for Congress, and saw how they will rally for you. These people can win you elections. They're the reason George Bush was elected twice, and they're going to be the reason Donald Trump was elected twice. Smart political move, and also the right thing to do. Good for you, President Trump. All right, we have a lot more show. We're done talking about March for Life. We're going to, we're going to make fun of the media a little bit. You know we love that. Hang on. BetDSI.com/Jesse. Again, BetDSI.com/Jesse. Look, people, we are 1 week away from the Super Bowl. We have precious little football left, and you know what that means? That means we're all going to have to rally around sports we don't like to watch as much. Now, how can you make those sports more enjoyable? Why not put a little bit more money on the game? Throw $10 on, throw $50 on the game. Watch a little NBA. Baseball's coming up. Watch UFC. Watch some hockey. Watch politics. At betdsi.com, you can bet on politics. You can even bet on reality TV. The wife got you stuck in front of the TV watching The Bachelor? Put some money on it and watch these insane people dance around on camera. betdsi.com/Jesse. They've been doing it for 20 years. 20 years. That's why they have the fastest payouts in the industry. They're not one of these people who are going to hang on to your money. Well, we really can't release it just yet. No, it's your money and they know that. Listen, if you use the promo code Jesse120, that's Jesse120, you get a 120% bonus match at betdsi.com/Jesse. Go there today, start betting, start making a deposit. At least make your deposit and then dig in for your weekend sports and weekend politics. I actually think I'm going to put a little money on Bernie to win the primary. betdsi.com/Jesse. Joining me now is a man who was at March for Life today, Jaco Boyens with the Falkirk Institute. Jaco, please give me the mood today. I'm so jealous you were there and I was not. What was it like when President Trump spoke? What was the mood like? Tell me about it.
See, look, we had about 200 students from Liberty University come down to the Falkirk Center. It was fantastic. I've been to many rallies and I've listened to the president speak many times, but I'll tell you, the atmosphere was electric. It was a cool day. A lot of people showed up. Obviously, Secret Service had to let guys through for security. But the president delivered a fantastic, very brief 15-minute high-impact message that really resonated with the people. Look, it's a pro-life march. For the first time in history, an American president attended this march, number one, and spoke at it and delivered a message that was, look, we're going to fight for all life. We're going to fight for children in the womb. We're going to protect the children. We're not going to allow late-term abortions, and we're definitely not going to allow post-birth abortions. It was a resounding victory, I'd say, for the march and for the president.
Jaco, is this an issue? Obviously, I'm as pro-life as it gets. Is this something we're ever going to actually get a win on? Are we ever going to overturn Roe versus Wade? Or I guess I get frustrated. I feel like we've been treading water on this for so long and I want more. Or are we getting wins and I'm just being a pessimist?
No, I don't think you're a pessimist. Look, historically, right, we have not made any ground here. We haven't. But it's also never been an Oval Office issue like this. There's never been this kind of pressure in this kind of momentum, and definitely not from a commander-in-chief. So I want to encourage you and say, hey, look, this time around, I think we're going to see Roe v. Wade turn. I really do. I have hope. I also was pessimistic for a long time, right? But right now, I legitimately have hope that we're going to turn the tide on this thing.
Tell me about the crowd there. Was it an angry crowd? Was it a happy crowd? Was it, somber? Tell me about the mood, because I've actually never been to a D.C. March for Life. I've been to one in Arizona, but I've never been to the big boy yet. You're the one who's blessed to get to do the cool stuff. What was it like?
No, look, it's definitely not an angry crowd. A very welcoming crowd. I mean, people were having fun. People were singing. They were singing songs. There's music pumping, like any Trump rally. There's music pumping. But it was a really, really pleasant crowd. People were talking. Look, a lot of waiting, right? Getting through security, Secret Service, meeting people, shooting videos, selfies, and some amazing banners. And honestly, I counted a total, and I've been here since the morning, a total of 20 protesters. It was really a pro-life crowd that was there for the right reason. And what's very interesting today was a lot of young children. I'm talking kids in strollers, strapped to their dad. Didn't bring my kids today, but there was a lot of young children as well. So it was a mixed crowd, the young and the old. And I saw some amazing veterans, some of our veterans, W amputees, triple amputee. It was an amazing mix, racially, completely represented as well. It was a good day, man.
Tell me about the protesters. Were they nasty? I'm assuming we're not talking Antifa thugs here, just people who weirdly love abortion. Is that all it was?
Yeah, well, look, we had one group, about 5 of them, that just started walking from the stage and just walked through the crowd. Nobody did anything to them, and they just shouted, this slogan over and over, and the slogan was really remove Trump from the White House, and we're an anti-abortion rally, but then they yell, "We're for women, remove Trump from the White House." And I'm thinking, we're for women. We are for women. We are for every child because, most of the children aborted are female. These are girls, right? And so that's what it was. But it was nothing. It wasn't serious. And they were not hostile. They were just chanting, right? And that's basically what it was.
Jaco, tell me about the Falkirk Institute. What is this?
Jerry Falwell Jr. and Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA, Jerry Falwell, the president of Liberty University, came together and birthed the Falkirk Center, of which I'm a proud fellow of. And the Falkirk Center's purpose is to represent and defend Judeo-Christian values in the marketplace where it intersects with politics and media, right? It's to accurately represent what we believe is our Judeo-Christian value system. No denomination, affiliation to denomination, but just the Word of God. And saying, hey, let's accurately represent the Word of God, because sometimes in politics, some guys will take sound bites and cherry pick scripture, and it doesn't accurately represent the Word of God. So the Falkirk Center exists to be a voice in media and in the marketplace to represent Judeo-Christian values.
Jaco, what do we do about the left and their love of abortion? How do we win them over? I mean, obviously I want to win. I just want to defeat them. That's what I want more than anything. But at the same time, I want people to wake up and realize exactly what happens. Are we gaining ground there with the new science? People can see that baby in the womb. Are we winning people over, or are we just destined to go like this forever?
Yeah, look, and I don't just be the ultimate optimist. I'm going to be factual here, but we are turning here by having a mother, and I'm a father of three, right? By having a mother see that ultrasound, there's a psychological immediate impact, right? And this is why they vehemently fought it so hard. There's a banner today that really hit me hard, and the banner said, "It's not your DNA, it's another person." And that's striking, man, because look, yes, it's your body, but that child has its DNA. That's another person. It's murder now. It's not your kidney or your liver or just an extension of your body. Yes, you're housing this fetus, right? But no, I think we're moving here because of imagery and technology and slogans such as that, and just people saying, look, you can't, as the left, they're so hypocritical, right? On everything. We look at the circus show and impeachment today, but on this abortion issue, they're hypocritical. We want big government, and we want people to vote for us, but we want to kill a bunch of people. You can't have it both ways, right? And so you cannot tell me that will stand much longer. I think we're moving into a time in America where we've what I call lanced the boil, right? We cut it open, and now I think we're seeing their true colors.
Jaco Booyens, thank you so much for giving us some time today, and I'm proud of myself for not butchering your name.
You're a champ. Thank you so much, man.
Be good, brother. Coming up, we're going to slap the media around a little bit. You'll enjoy it. Hang on. The left loves human shields. This is not new. It's not news. That is just what they do. They love them because they find it to be very effective, meaning you need to change your response when the left uses human shields. Do you remember the Khan family? Their son was a hero who died. I believe it died in Iraq, but died in combat. And then the Khans came out at the DNC and savaged Donald Trump, absolutely trashed him up and down, completely politicizing the whole thing. And Trump went back at him and attacked the Khans. And people freaked out. You can't say that's a Gold Star family. You can't say. Why did they freak out? Because the left is very, very, very much used to Republicans being too afraid to attack their human shields. Let me tell you something, people. Don't ever let them silence you by doing that. And nobody is a better example of the human shield thing than Greta. You know, this Greta Thunberg girl, this teenager from Sweden who's going across the planet trying to put us all in poverty. She's sailing on ships and lecturing everybody about everything. Look, I don't want to hear from anybody. Don't attack a 16-year-old girl. If you're trying to starve my country to death, you get attacked. And this is politics, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't care if your kid is 3 or 83. This is a contact sport. If you get into this ring, you're going to be contacted. So don't you dare roll out some teenage girl and say, oh, well, she just wants to wipe out your economy, but don't you say anything. Don't you dare say anything. That's just a teenager. She's only a child. If she's old enough to crush me and my country, she's in the game. Well, Chris Cuomo had something to say about it. Old Chris said, why do these Trumpers think it is okay to go at a kid? Which is kind of funny because Chris Cuomo was recently on video telling some kid in a restaurant he was going to throw him down the stairs. And it's also funny because CNN recently had to pay out a massive settlement to one Nick Sandman, who was 17 years old when CNN destroyed his reputation to the point they had to shut down his school for a couple of days because they were getting death threats. People, this is where we're going in the future. It's going to be this way unless you stop letting them silence you. Listen to Greta here. Listen to this person.
We don't want these things done by 2050, 2030, or even 2021. We want this done now. Unlike you, my generation will not give up without a fight. The facts are clear, but they are still too uncomfortable for you to address. You just leave it because you think it's too depressing and people will give up. But people will not give up. You are the ones who are giving up. I wonder, what will you tell your children was the reason to fail and leave them facing a climate chaos that you knowingly brought upon them? That it seemed so bad for the economy that we decided to resign the idea of securing future living conditions without even trying? Our house is still on fire. Your inaction is fueling the flames by the hour. And we are telling you to act as if you loved your children above all else. Thank you.
What will you tell your children? She said, you know what I tell my children? Don't speak unless spoken to. Be quiet. Go clean your room. Do your homework. Oh, you have a problem with that? There's the stairs. Start running up them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a failure of parenting in this society, in this world right now, especially in the West. And let me explain to you what that failure is. You celebrate your kids and lift them up on pedestals and worship them, and then you wonder why they're entitled little snots when they're in their mid-20s. Your kids should be taught respect. Your kids should be taught about hard work. Your kids should not be taught that every single emotional whim that they have about the climate, or they want to be Superman, or they want to change their gender. Kids are dumb. That's why they're kids. You gain wisdom as you get older. I was a moron when I was younger. Look how smart I am now. Tell your kid to be quiet. Where are that young girl's parents? She's a 16-year-old girl. A 16-year-old girl is by her very nature, quite possibly, the most irrational creature on the face of the planet. And yet her parents don't tell her, shut up, go home, do your schoolwork. Nobody wants to hear from you. You haven't done anything. Instead, they throw her out there in the public eye and then whine when people yell at her. But that's what they do. These people are insane. These climate change people are insane. Democrats are insane. And the media, people like Chris Cuomo, are absolute nutballs. If you think you can parade somebody out there with a political message like this time and time again, and then tell people they can't criticize her. Don't listen to them, people. Now, we're going to switch gears here real quick. I'm a professional. I just do that on the fly like that, not to brag or anything. Mike Bloomberg is out with a new ad, and I want you to watch this.
The Pentagon. President Trump arrives for a briefing by top military leaders. Trump explodes, attacks the war heroes in the room as losers, and a bunch of dopes and babies. Many in the room had risked their lives for our country. Soldiers, heroes, attacked by an erratic and out-of-control president. Arrogance, ignorance, chaos. Enough. America needs a steady leader who will honor those who serve.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
Remember what I just said about don't ever let them tell you you can't attack somebody? That also goes for generals who've been in Afghanistan for 20 years with no clear mission. And not only have they had no clear mission, not only have we not won, we're now in open talks, peace talks with the very people we've been fighting for 20 years. And during that 20 years, they've briefed every single American president and Congress 8,000 times that we're just about to win the war. Don't worry, I have an idea. See all these stars on my shoulder? I'm a general. I got you covered. Ladies and gentlemen, generals are not sacred. They're just human beings. And let me tell you a little secret for those of you who haven't been in the military. About 90% of generals are just politicians. That's how you get that many stars on your shoulder. Don't think you're ever going to wave that "I'm a general" thing in front of me and think that you're going to silence me at all. No, 20 years of failure in Afghanistan, you should be fired. You should all be very, very grateful if you only got called dopes and babies, because frankly, you should be forced to go out into the civilian sector and find a real job. And if you fail like that too, you'll get fired again. Embarrassing. Drew Berquist, former CIA, coming up. Hang on. Joining me now, the host of This Is My Show with Drew Berquist. Drew, oh, by the way, former CIA, big counterterrorism dude. He's basically James Bond without the hair. Drew, thank you for joining me today. First of all, let's address this March for Life thing. I say it's really cool that Trump is willing to do that, willing to speak out. And frankly, I'm a little shocked and disappointed he's the first one. How is he the first one, dude?
Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, it's good to be here. Good to see you again. But like, I don't know either. Like when that first broke and it was great news that he's going to be there and he's going to be involved, I was thrilled like everyone else. And then everyone dropped that line, and like you and many others, I think I was surprised to find out that he was the first one. It's pretty disappointing that no one has stood their ground on that issue, something that's been such a contentious issue for so long in this country, and one that really most people don't fall in the gray area on. You're either here or you're here. So I'm proud of him. I think it's a big move. And shows kind of who he is and that he's willing to do that, because certainly people were waiting for him to make a move there. And now that he said, you know what, I don't care what you think, I believe this and I'm going to be there. I think it's awesome.
Drew, I say him showing up just shows how unashamed of his base that he is. And I maybe you disagree. I feel like that is a requirement for GOP candidates going forward, and that they always try to placate to the media and play nice and look reasonable. And Trump has never cared about that. And that's part of the reason he has a borderline cult following, because he's not ashamed of the people who love him.
Yeah, exactly. No, none of those other GOP members fill, arenas and have standing room only outside of the arena. So you're absolutely right. I think that this has changed the game for if they haven't learned that lesson and changed the game, then shame on them. I think that we've always been behind on, how we promote and market ourselves, how you play to your constituents on the GOP side. If they haven't learned moving forward that an establishment type guy and someone who is just going to play the game can't win moving forward, then shame on the GOP, and we're in big trouble. But hopefully someone has recognized that and realized, hey, go be who you are, stand on your principles. The people who follow you, let them follow you for the reasons they follow you. Endorse that, accept it, and it's just been remarkable how he's done it. But I am still concerned that no one else is going to be the same candidate, because they're going to feel like they need to distance themselves from him and come back towards the center and more normal, which is not what we need.
Yeah, or they're going to do that thing where they try to be him and they just fail at it. It won't be charismatic.
Yeah.
It'll just come off as mean and horrible. I've seen that far too often. All right, Drew, in all seriousness, what are your perfect hot dog toppings?
So I like minced onions. All right, I just do. And you can judge me for that. That's okay. I like minced onions on my hot dog. And then ketchup. My grandmother would say ketchup, but ketchup and mustard. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic except for the onions.
That's all American. I support that. I can also go, we have like a jalapeno spicy relish. It's like a mustard relish I can put on that on occasion. I'm not saying all the time. I'm not crazy. But every now and then.
But I like
just
that.
wanted to clarify. Yeah, I got you. All right, now moving on here.
Okay.
Bloomberg. Bloomberg has a new ad out criticizing Trump because there was this article came out. Trump apparently got a bunch of generals in the room and called them a bunch of dopes and babies and was making fun of them. And I saw that and I was cheering because, frankly, most generals I know are a bunch of dopes and babies, and they're morons and they're politicians and they send people to die without a clear mission. But that's me. You were in Afghanistan and I never was. What say you?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, first of all, it's all hearsay, and I mean, people are saying that was said, and they claim that they were in the room, and those are the words. But this isn't confirmed, for one. But second of all, it's absolutely right, and I think that your sentiment is spot on with this. There's so many people that climb the ranks, whether it's in the military, the armed services, the intel, law enforcement, whatever, who are really just politicians, and you've got to play a broken game to rise and climb there. They're careerists. And if you're the president, regardless of what president you are, and you want things to get done the way you want to, falling in line with your agenda, your policies, you need the right people there. So if you have a bunch of people from the Obama administration, or even some new ones that you took a gamble on and put in, that came up the ranks under your time, you want them to fall in line with how you value things, how you see things. He's been great for the troops. He's been great for our military, great for the VA. So the fact that he laid into some people who should have thick skin coming up through the military because they weren't doing their jobs, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as a benefit.
Drew, am I wrong in that I want my general to be a bloodthirsty super assassin who wants to go to war with every country on earth? I just want a president to say no. That's what I want in my general. I want you to fulfill a role. My Secretary of State, I want you to seek peace with everybody. My Secretary of Defense, I want you to want to nuke every city on the planet. And I want the president to make the final decision. Am I crazy there?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Exactly. Look, you've got a pit bull on a leash at the Pentagon. That's what you should have, who is frothing at the mouth, wanting to get their gun in the fight. And then you're exactly right. We've got a more aggressive Secretary of State than I think we've ever had. I think he's one of the better ones we've ever had. But you should have someone who's playing the other side, devil's advocate at the State Department, saying, well, let's talk diplomacy. We know it doesn't work, so let's fight. But you should have that counterbalance happening. And then the man in charge, the commander in chief, who again can call these people what he wants. It's not presidential necessarily, but he can say whatever he wants, making that final call. And that's not historically been the case, at least as of recent years. But I think that he's on the right track and trying to put those right people there.
Did you ever have an exploding pen or something like that when you were CIA?
There were some pretty fun gadgets. I can't say that I ever had that one.
Are you allowed to say, or that's probably all classified, right?
Yeah, most of the crazy tools and gadgets and devices are pretty classified. But I didn't have an exploding pen, so I don't know if that breaks your fantasy and affects our friendship. But I didn't have one.
Well, you could have lied about that. All right,
I
Greta
could have.
Thunberg. The media is mad. They're always mad every time a Republican criticizes Greta Thunberg. And I don't know why they're mad about that, because she wants to destroy the economy. The left loves this human shield thing, and I don't get where that came from. I'm glad we're finally pushing back on it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Look, I mean, everyone's talked about how comparing it to Nicholas Sandmann and everything that CNN did there, and there's a lot more people who are going to pay the price for how that whole debacle was handled. But the way I look at it is, whether you're left, right, indifferent, first of all, I think her whole thing, the whole shtick that she's out there doing is absolutely ridiculous. But if you're going to stick your head out there on a massive political issue like that, you become fair game. It doesn't matter if you're 8 or 80 or in between. Like, you have thrown your name out there, you've put yourself in the ring, and it's fair game. And look, you've seen some clips of her, or at least I've seen some clips of her out there where she's not doing a formal speech. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. So, she's really prime time, for picking on. And look, there's ways you can do it nicely, but she's been put out there. There's clearly people behind her too. And again, once you throw your name in the hat or put yourself in the ring, whichever analogy you want to use, you're fair game. So, game on.
Drew, I've always had this theory, I'm not including her in this, that about 90% of climate change people don't believe in it either. Anytime they have a big protest with an oil pipeline, they leave, and they leave all their trash behind. All the celebrities take their private jets and yachts to the climate change conferences and things like that. About 90% of them don't believe it, and 10% of them would absolutely lay down and die for it. Are my numbers off? Do you really think people genuinely believe this? Even the celebrity on the Learjet, maybe he really believes it and just says, well, my flight's probably okay, just not for the peons.
Yeah, no, I think that's the case with a lot of the issues, not just climate change. I think that there's folks. You saw an instance of I forget which rally and protest it was this week, and someone went up and asked why they were there, and not one of them could answer. Like, people just get into this groupthink, wolf pack thinking, where they're going to say whatever sounds good and stays on message, because it sounds like a message of conviction, but at the end of the day, there's just nothing behind it. And there's very few. And I'll give credit to the ones who have a bunch of data, whether it's actual or not, on any given issue, and are emotional and committed to it. They're wrong, but like at least they have something to try and back it up. But so many people, to your point, if you try and call them on the carpet, they don't have an answer. They don't know what they're doing. And there's a lot of scientists who do. And they always say, hey, 90% of scientists agree with this. 90% of what scientists? Did you poll every scientist in the world? Like, is everyone in on this? No. So I think most of the data is bogus, and I think most of the convictions and backing or reasoning behind people's ideology on this is bogus as well.
Drew Berquist, enjoy your Friday. I like your logo back there. It looks like a superhero's logo.
Thank you. Well, that's what I was doing just before this. So
be good, buddy.
Good seeing you. All right, you too.
All right, there's something out there called the Dolly Parton Challenge. So, yeah, I looked into it. Hang on. Well, it's Friday, so we like to finish this thing on a light note. Dolly Parton has long been a national treasure, and apparently she put something out there, or someone put something out there for her called the Dolly Parton Challenge, showing the different ways people display themselves on the different social media sites. By the way, who still uses LinkedIn in this day and age? They send you 9,000 emails. It's borderline weird. So, of course, everybody piled on this thing. People did it with their animals. There was, I believe, a llama in one of these things. And so, as you can imagine, our crack production staff over here on I'm Right figured that I should have one. And you know what? They're 100% right. So here it is in all of its glory. Blow that up full screen. Everyone needs to see it, ladies and gentlemen. There is the Jesse Kelly Dolly Parton Challenge. Man, I've been working on my lats. Enjoy your weekend, people. Drive safe out there. I'll see you Monday.